Hello friends, Clage back with part 4 of the Guilty Gear XRD primers on the system mechanics. Today we are going to be talking about a big one, a mechanic that is very important and has a great deal of impact at all levels of play in Guilty Gear XRD, and that is Blitz. Blitz shielding, Blitz charging, Blitz attacking. This one is unique to XRD. It was introduced in the XRD series. This is in no other version of Guilty Gear, so while the first 3 guides really focused on the differences between Strive and XRD in terms of how the system mechanics interact with one another, this one is going to be much more just, if you've never played XRD and you're getting ready to check it out for the rollback netcode patch, this one's going to be important. This is unique to this series, and it's a very powerful mechanic. It is a very pricey mechanic, and it comes with a very large amount of risk-reward attached to it. So we're going to talk all about how Blitz works, what it does, and how to best utilize it a little bit today. It's getting its own guide because it is that important and it is that in-depth. So let's just get going here. So, what is Blitz? Blitz is the universal parry mechanic that was added into Guilty Gear XRD. So, how do you perform Blitz? You perform Blitz by being at neutral. You have to be at neutral, not forward, not back, not anything. And then hitting heavy slash and another button. Most people tend to do heavy slash and slash to do their Blitz. It is important to note you cannot do heavy slash and dust because obviously that is the command for burst. That will not work. If you pick up Biken, do note that heavy slash and slash is attached to her Azami mechanic, her personal guard counter mechanic. So if you want to use Blitz with Biken, you will have to use heavy slash and either kick or punch. So heavy slash kick works, heavy slash punch also works. So, other nuts and bolts about Blitz. Blitz costs 25% tension. You see when I activate it, my bar goes down by a quarter, 25%. 25% is not cheap. That is a pricey amount to pay in Guilty Gear XRD because this game has wire Cs, and wire Cs are very powerful. We will get to them when we get to the Roman Cancel guide. But just note that Blitz does not come cheap, nor should it. It is a very powerful mechanic. Other important things about how Blitz works. Blitz activates on frame 1. That means this is a viable option as a reversal and a viable option for using in even a 1 frame gap in pressure. So Blitz can be used in reversal areas where many attacks cannot. So you will have to account for Blitz both using it in a defensive motion and account for your opponent using it while you are structuring your offense, your pressure, and your Oki. Because again, all there needs to be is a single frame of room, and Blitz now is a viable response from your opponent. So, when you activate Blitz, you see the blue shield flashes. Blitz can be charged. It can also be done in the air. However, it cannot be charged in the air. When this blue shield is up, if your opponent swings into you with a strike of any type, it doesn't matter how far away it is, if the attack is considered a strike and not a projectile, they will get put in what is called rejected status, and I'll show you how that works and go more in depth on that in just a moment. But it's important to note that if you want to be able to have Blitz succeed, to actually put your opponent in rejected status, you have to guard, quote-unquote, properly. So, if you use standing Blitz, this is only going to reject mids and highs. This will not reject lows. So if someone comes up and sweeps you while you're doing a standing Blitz, you lose. You will just get knocked out of it and you lose your meter. If you choose to Blitz low, which can be done pressing exactly down or down forward and heavy slash push the button, you will only Blitz lows. That's it. If they use a mid, a high, a jump in, won't work. You will not succeed in blitzing it. It is important to note that all versions of Blitz, air, standing, and crouching, all can Blitz unblockable attacks. You can reject unblockable attacks as long as they are not considered throws. Blitz will not beat throws, it will not beat overdrives, and it will not beat max charge Blitz, which we'll get more into that can of worms in a moment as well. So, just to kind of highlight what's going on, I'm going to go ahead and program Soul here. So, why don't you go up and then just Blitz for me. There we go, nice and basic. So if I go up and I swing into Soul, rejected. Go into the rejected status. What is rejected status? So when you swing into a Blitz with a strike, or if you do a projectile but you're far enough away, you won't be put in rejected status. But if you're up close in their grill you can be put in rejected status. Projectiles reject based on proximity to the blitz, so keep that in mind. But if you're put in rejected status, what happens? Well, you are locked out of every mechanic in the entire game except one. Blitz. That's it. The only thing you can do while in rejected status is to blitz. So if we have Soul do his thing again here, I get rejected, I can blitz back. It's the only option available to me. You also can low blitz if you want. Either standing or low are both available. Those are the only inputs that work. So, when you put your opponent in rejected status, they are in it for a long time. So if we have Soul this time, let's just have him jump at me and do... Actually, no, let's do this. There we go. That'll work. So we're just going to have Soul jump at us. He's going to do a normal, and we're going to reject it ourselves this time. You see, I had plenty of time to run up and do a punish. Real nice and easy, right? Rejected status lasts a very long time. It is effectively you get to punish your opponent because not only can they not do anything but blitz, that means they are locked out of burst. And they can't just automatically panic burst and get out of the situation. Something else is important to note. If you successfully cause rejected status, so if I have bad guy do this again, you'll notice I regain half the tension I use. So a successful blitz gets you 12.5% tension back, which is very significant, again, because meter is very, very precious in Guilty Gear Xrd, so that's important. But, again, blitz is not foolproof. You have to blitz correctly. So if I try to blitz low on this, smacked. You will not succeed if you do not blitz in the correct manner. And, as I said, throws, overdrives, and max charge blitz all beat up blitz. So if we program bad guy again, and just go like so. So this time, yoink. This applies to all grabs. Command grabs also work just fine. Completely smacked out of the blitz. Also, overdrives. You see he's fully charging? Whoa. You cannot blitz overdrives. They lose every single time, and very important to know. So, that's the basics of how blitz works. You are paying 25% to attempt to parry what your opponent is doing. You have to choose correctly. In the air, you cannot charge the blitz at all, so it's only active for about 12 frames. If you just tap blitz, it has about a 12-frame window of activity where you can reject something. In the air, it does not matter what you're trying to reject. It will reject all of it. There's no specialized rules like there is with Faultless Defense. Grounded normals can be rejected with blitz in the air just fine. It's also important to note when you successfully blitz in the air, you do gain your air movement back. So you can do things in the air after successfully blitzing. You don't just have to fall to the ground. So keep that in mind. So, in addition to just using blitz as a parry mechanic, it also functions as a specialized attack. So you can hold blitz and charge it up for a great deal of time. The entire time the shield is active, you can reject anything. So if they swing into you for any portion of this, you can still cause the rejected status. Something that's important to note on charge blitz. Once you see Soul flashing red there, once the blitz is charged up that much, the guarding correctly aspect no longer applies. Now it will reject everything. Mids, highs, lows, unblockables, all of it. The only things that will stop it at that point are dodging the attack, using a throw, using an overdrive, or getting your own max charge blitz out first. Only things that are going to stop this, period. So, next, what I want to do is show what happens when you actually land charge blitz. So this is both defensive, obviously, because it's a parry mechanic, but blitz also has applications on offense because in many situations in the corner for certain characters, you can actually combo into charge blitz. And if you just hit with one outright, if you hit a max charge, they go into a crumple. A very, very slow crumple. Even if you don't max charge and you just charge up a little, you get a blowback. On counter hit, this will wall stick on the corner. If they're in the air and you counter hit, they go into a float, so you can get all sorts of punishes on this. Another important thing to note, when you hit someone with a blitz attack, watch the dummy's burst meter here. Blitz actually lowers your opponent's burst gauge. This is important to note because this makes blitz your optimal round ender, if you have a situation where you can combo into Blitz, or if you stun your opponent and they have essentially no life left, it is always optimal to end a round with Blitz, because you steal a little bit of their burst, and not only do you gain 12.5% when you successfully blitz, you also gain a little bit of burst yourself. So if you're not at full burst meter, you just gained a little bit extra for successfully blitz attacking someone. So basically, blitz is a high risk, high reward defense to offense transition. Now, something that can be a big, and I mean big, beginner trap for characters is getting in what's called Blitz Wars. So if we have bad guy, we're just going to have him do this again and then go into a charge blitz, and we're going to do the thing here. So if I go up and do this, and I try to blitz back, if he fully charges, I lose, for 1. 2, what also happens, and I can't really recreate this very well with the CPU, unfortunately, because there's no real great way to record this. What a lot of time happens is people go, oh, I'm locked out, the only thing I can do is blitz. And so you will see people go up, swing a mid, and get blitzed, and then the other person will go over and swing back, and they'll get blitzed, and this will go back and forth until both characters are out of meter. Don't do this. Do not get in Blitz Wars. If you successfully reject someone and you see any way, shape, or form they are planning on blitzing back, you should be doing one of a couple things. You should either run up and throw them, or you should run up and do a low. Because very few people will react to a blitz with a blitz war by blitzing back low, because if they guess wrong, then you can just run up and get a big starter on them like a stand heavy. Something that is important to note, though, is if you go with the throw option, you cannot throw someone in rejected status. They are actually throw immune while they're in that particular stun. However, the second they tap blitz, they are throwable again. So, if you think you are about to get in a Blitz War situation, I highly, highly recommend that you teach yourself to either go up and low them or to go up and throw them. If we use this mechanic I showed earlier, let's say bad guy decides to go for a max charge blitz, right? If I try to blitz back here, I'm going to lose because he's max charging. My max charge is not going to come up in time, which means I always lose that exchange. So blitzing back there is straight up a losing proposition. But if I just let this recover and he max charges, well, guess what I have time to do? I guess I have to actually trigger rejected, huh? If I can do it right today. Gripped. Remember, blitz is not throw immune. And also remember, whoops. If I can time things right, I swear. Overdrives. These are ways to fight back against max charge blitz. Blitz very much turns into a mind game, and it can very quickly turn into you flinging rocks at each other until one of you runs out of rocks. So, don't fall in the beginner's trap of thinking every time you get blitzed that you should immediately try and blitz back. It depends drastically on what your opponent does in response to hitting a successful blitz. Do they run up and try and punish you? Do they go for a charge blitz? Do they try and bait you into doing your own blitz? There is a mind game to it, but I cannot tell you how many people I see get stuck in the mindset of, oh no, I was rejected, time to blitz back. That is honestly oftentimes a good way to turn not only you getting punished into you getting punished, but you getting punished and losing 25% meter. And that feels real bad in this game, so don't do that. Just a couple more quick tips on blitz. Again, since the air blitz can't be charged, this is a powerful tool as a jump in, but you have a much smaller window of error, obviously, because you can't charge it, so keep that in mind when you choose to air blitz something. And the other thing to remember is that, like I said, blitz as an Okizeme tool is very, very powerful. Not powerful as in you doing Okizeme, but when you are trying to run Oki on an opponent, blitz is a valid response, especially if it's a type of Okizeme where they don't have to try and guess too hard on if you're going to go low or high. If you run a heavy Oki game, you have to be prepared to build in certain styles of mix-up and certain styles of pressure and offense with your Oki that can account for blitz. Because if you do very blatant pressure strings or very blatant Oki where there's an obvious gap and then you do a move that's really telegraphed, that is a surefire way to get blitzed. So as you get up higher level in playing XRD, this will become more and more of a factor. You have to account for blitz. Some characters are very good at just playing around it. Some characters, it can be a huge thorn in their side. So Sin, for example, pretty much everything he does is considered a strike, such as things like Beak Driver or his giant overhead. Those are strikes. Those can be blitzed from full screen, and that puts you in a very awkward position. So the other thing I just want to say before we get out of here for the day, blitz is not a cure-all for defense. Because you have to blitz correctly, because it is a neutral-based mechanic that you cannot do while holding back to option selected anyway, this is a risk-reward mechanic, and it's a heavy risk-reward mechanic. This will not solve your problems if you're having trouble blocking things in Guilty Gear Xrd. Blitz is not your magic ticket out of grimy offense and grimy mix-ups. Can it help you with a lot of basic Oki and basic pressure? Absolutely. Blitz is very, very powerful when you get a good feel for how to use it. But if you think you can rely on Blitz to solve all your defensive problems, you're going to struggle in Xrd. So don't look to this as the, okay, I'm going to save all my meters so I can Blitz and always get back my turn. No, that's not going to do you any good. So I highly recommend messing with Blitz early and out the gate and getting a feel for how it works, getting a feel for how the rejected status feels when you either put someone in it or when you get in it yourself. And the sooner you can teach yourself the mindset of if you can combo into Blitz to end a round, or if you have an opponent that's stunned, use Blitz, because taking away that little bit of burst, that can be huge going into a final round of a set. So that's all I got for this one. Blitz is a very in-depth mechanic. This is probably one of the more difficult things to get implemented in Guilty Gear Xrd, so don't worry if this doesn't come naturally at first. You don't have to spend a ton of time early on learning how to blitz or how to play with blitz. It's much more important to get a feel for your character, to get a feel for basic game flow, but as you get more and more comfortable with the basic system mechanics and with the character you're picking up, start practicing with blitz, seeing what you can blitz on defense, seeing what kind of rewards you can get, because you will see this mechanic come up and it will pay great dividends if you can use it well. So that's going to do it for today. Appreciate you all. Hope these guides have been helping out. If it is, leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any questions, anything else I can clarify. Happy to do that for you. And yeah, if you want to do the like, subscribe thing, that's definitely always appreciated. Want to do channel memberships and all that, support my habit of making Guilty Gear material here for you all to enjoy. That's always appreciated. So that's all I got. Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see you in the next guide. Peace.